Clover, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I grew up in BEFREE, Florida. It's right outside of Orlando, Florida.
And how was your childhood? You had both your parents when you were young?
No, I had what they told me that they adopted me. This married couple that they told everyone that we knew the story about them calling, like charities, Catholic charities, calling in the middle of the night and saying that they had a girl for adoption. And they said they had to drive up to Mobile, Alabama, where I was adopted through a car window at a monastery because they said that they might recognize someone in the monastery, so they couldn't go inside, is what they said. But
At what age was this?
I was a baby.
So you don't remember it?
No, I just remember them telling the story.
So the parents that raised you, you're saying it wasn't exactly a legal adoption?
No, it wasn't. They took me. I was traded as a baby, and they took me, and they grabbed me through the car window and drove back to Florida with me when I was a young child.
How was your childhood with this family?
I don't remember much because I was drugged a lot. I would sleep sometimes for 60 hours, for days and days, and nobody woke me up or questioned it. A lot of times I would go with these couples. They were very wealthy couples that would come and pick me up. One couple, my whole life, as I was growing up, when I was 6, 8 years old, 11 years old, they would come and get me, and they had a really nice house. And the woman would hang out with me a lot, but I never talked to the man. They offered to send me to school, to send me to a school, not to live at their house, but to live at the school, a girls' school, and they offered to send me to college. And the woman who had taken me refused and wouldn't let me see them anymore. I never saw them again. I remember when I was 6 years old, one night, in the middle of the night, a couple came, and we lived like in a very rural area. It was dark in the streets, and I remember Marilyn, that was her name, the lady, she got me up in the middle of the night, and her husband asked where I was going. And she said, well, she's gonna go to Disney World with some friends of mine and their daughter. And he said, oh, that's nice, So I went out to the car, and I got in the car, and there was a little boy, not a little girl, in the car. And he was screaming and crying. And I was terrified. I didn't know what happened to him. He was my age. And I sunk down, 6. I sunk down into the seat, behind the driver's seat, and where you put your feet. I sunk down there. I was really scared. But I remember that she had drugged me again because I didn't wake up until the lady had me in her arms, and she put me in a hotel room where there was 2 big king-size beds, but there was no one else in the room, and she tucked me in, and then I remember that I woke up again in their car about 5 minutes from my house. And I said to them, I remember saying to them, where's him? And he said, oh, well, he didn't come with us. Well, what about Disney World? I said, and they said, oh, well, you slept through the whole thing. It's what they told me. But I knew at that point, something's up. There's no, we didn't go to Disney World. But I to this day, I wonder what happened to that little boy and why he didn't come back with us,
So what kind of stuff was going on with this family, do you think?
Well, the daddy didn't talk much. I had a foster sister And they registered her for adoption, but she's the only one that got registered for adoption. I ended up getting her name. And she chopped off her own arm to here. She had 3 fingers and that were left that she hadn't destroyed.
She cut off her own finger?
Yes, she did. She cut off her own arm and her own fingers at like 3 years old. And I think that's why they adopted me, because she was really smart. She knew that they were trafficking her. And she mutilated her own body so that they would stop and that she wouldn't be marketable. You know, I didn't know the whole time that I was being trafficked, but how could I? I was just a baby. I was just a kid. I was drugged, you know. When I went to this outpatient to find out why I couldn't stop doing drugs, you know, they hypnotized me. And they said, well, you know, over the next month, things will start coming out, memories that you will have suppressed or are going to come out. And sure enough, they did. And it was all about being sexually trafficked as a child. What's wild is I grew up, I was a cocktail waitress. And I was drugged again as a cocktail waitress in my 20s. And I woke up in a room full of men. It must have been about 20 to 30 men. I don't know why they left my high heels on. And I kept kicking them with my heels and getting away. I was in the Roosevelt Hotel. I'll never forget. And I was running from door to door screaming. At one time I got down to the lobby. And in the lobby, there were people at the counter. And I kept screaming, help me, help me. And I landed on the floor because I could barely walk because they had pulled my legs so far apart that they broke the tendons here in my thighs. And my legs were totally they didn't work, you know. They were mad at me. And I woke up again, they chloroformed me a few times, and I woke up again in like a warehouse. And there was a fellow taking my head and trying to smash it against the cement floor. I think he was trying to kill me. Pretty sure he was, and I knew it. And I don't know if you watched Montel Williams, but I watched it a few times, and he says if you're in a situation like that, to talk to your abductor about your name and your children or your family. And then that's what I did. I started talking to him about, please don't kill me. You know, I have 2 sons, you know, and I started describing my sons and how old they were at the time. And the guy, just for a minute, he let me go. It was so scary. I'll never forget because his eyes were black and then they changed color to like he started looking like a normal person for a minute, and he got off me and he walked over to the door and he opened it up. And I remember I just got up and I was running out the door. And I don't know if he snapped back into killer mode, but he was trying to grab me. And thank God, you know, it was the middle of the night and there weren't many cars here in LA, but a taxi was going down the street. And he stopped and picked me up. And I remember a few miles down the road, I told him, look, you know, I'd just been raped and abducted. I said, I don't have any money on me. And this bastard, he says, you know, just get out of my cab. Just got all mad. Threw me out of the cab, and I remember I was on the sidewalk down in Franklin and I couldn't stand up. My legs weren't working. So I was scared that the people that did it to me, I was scared that they would hurt my kids. So I didn't go to the authorities about it, you know.
So you moved to LA at some point?
I did, yeah.
How old were you when you moved here?
19.
Drugs started for you at what age?
About 16. But I mean, my whole childhood I'd been given drugs. It was she threw me out when I was 16 because I was no longer useful to her. You know, she gambled all the money away that she made.
Right.
Trafficking me. It's weird how in the 70s, you know, the people would switch babies like that and steal babies from people who were born from somebody famous. It turned out that my dad is a famous guitar player. I probably can't tell you who, but yeah. So pretty much they will sell people, kids who are, if they can get them, you know, who are like government officials or famous people.
How has this kind of abuse in your childhood affect you as an adult?
Well, I can't stop doing drugs. That's for sure.
What's your drug today?
Fentanyl.
Which started with heroin from it?
Yeah, 20 years of heroin.
Do you smoke it or inject it?
I muscle it. So inject it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And where do you stay now?
I bought an RV, you know, a really cheap one, of course. It's a 73. And it's 20 foot. And I've been traveling from pretty much below San Diego up through California. I go up into the redwoods. I like to travel the coast of California.
Yeah.
And I go fishing.
Huh.
That's why I find it serene.
Yeah.
I like to be alone a lot. Well, me and my cat, really, kind of travel around, which is not easy when you're a drug addict because you have to go to some pretty seedy places because it's not like there's a dealer that you know in every city.
Right.
So you have to like know where to go, like the homeless camps, and that's how you meet like a lot of people, homeless people and things like that.
And how do you support yourself now?
Well, I mean, COVID just happened, so there was EDD. I was a cocktail waitress in LA for probably 30 years. I have been in 6 horror movies, Trove-more movies as an actress. I've been in 3 music videos here in LA.
And do you do sex work to support yourself?
Well, I have, yeah. And dominatrix work, which was pretty interesting. I had a girlfriend that got me into that. And there's a guy who worships my feet. I try not to do, I don't very often do penetration. I'm bothered by it. I find myself very sexually bothered by anything sexual. It's probably because when I was a child, what happened to me.
Have you been in love before?
Huh?
Have you been in love before? Have you been in love before?
In love, that's what I thought you asked. I don't think I have, no. I don't know what that is. I think when I had my sons, that's as closest thing as I've ever felt to like real love is them and what they gave to me. Because my life, I never had that, you know. It was, the man ignored me in the household. He turned out to come out of the closet as gay, which was crazy. And Marilyn, the woman, she hated my guts. She hated me. She was very abusive as far as verbally. She would tell my girlfriends that I grew up with, my kid friends and their parents. She would say, well, I have a friend who's psychic, and she said this in front of everybody she could. And they're saying that, you know, Lori, what's the name? My God, I don't use it, but that Lori here is going to be a prostitute when she grows up, was what they told me. And I keep trying to tell Lori, and I'm like 7 years old, 12 years old, and she's saying it right in front of me. I keep telling her if she's going to be a prostitute that she should do it in Las Vegas, because then it's going to be legal for her there. I don't know if this made her feel better, you know, about what she was doing to me, but some of my girlfriend's parents were like, they felt really bad, really sorry for me, and they would hide me. I got to stay at their house, you know, for a while. There were parents who just were appalled by her behavior towards me. Yeah, it's kind of a rude thing to say, little kid, you know.
Tell me about your children.
My son? I have these 20 now, my eldest, and my youngest is 17.
Did you raise them?
Yeah, yeah. They live with their dads, though. I didn't believe that. It disturbs me that men end up seeing their kids every 2 weeks on the weekends. And women are pulling out their hair, trying to raise these kids, you know, with the house and the alimony and child support and the pool boy, you know, on the couch. It was never what I wanted. So I told them before I ever even gave birth, both of their dads, I said, you know, well, you're gonna raise the kid, right? I'll give you custody if you make, I can't pay child support. But I'd like to be the one to seize my kids whenever I can, whenever I want to, because I'm not the same lifestyle as most people. And they agreed, and they're both very good dads. My youngest studies the pommel horse, and my oldest is in college in Portland. They're good boys. They never touch drugs. They might see this, I don't know, but if they do, you probably still couldn't convince them that I do drugs, because I never did it in front of them. My youngest got in a big argument with his stepmother about it. She does not. I've never seen her do drugs. My mom is totally sticking up for me. I'm like, oh. You know, but that's important to me, not to let them see it. But they still are, hopefully it's rebellion, but neither one of them will touch anything like that. Pretty proud of them.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm lucky with that.
What do you think about having a childhood as traumatic as yours? I mean, how it reshapes your adult life?
Well, it's made me the type of person who would never hurt anybody. You know? I don't know. It's made me very sexually repressed. I know that. Is that the word? Repressed?
So you're more sexual or afraid of?
I was more sexual when I was little, which is really strange. I really was very sexually open when I was little. I was very attracted to men, older men. Now, not so much anymore. No, I don't even know. I prefer to just be by myself at night and read a book, to tell you the truth. Me and the cat. I had, growing up in my 20s, I had quite a few enjoyable, you know, boyfriends and things like that. But now I'm 51, and I prefer to be by myself. I don't expect to have a relationship or a boyfriend again, ever.
Are you lonely?
No, no.
What emotions do you deal with? Do you get depressed, or do you?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. But it's empty. You know what I mean? Like I study science a lot. I'm a very scientific mind. So when I have an emotion, I study it in myself, and I want to know where the root comes from. But when I get depressed, I get sadness, I can't pinpoint it. You know what I mean? I can't find it. Where it comes from, where the roots are, you know? I would like to know, you know, there was a time when I stopped doing drugs and I taught yoga for a few years. But I don't know about anybody who studied yoga, but it's like doing drugs anyway. You do it, and then like an hour later, you're like, whoa, you know, you see things and stuff.
Have you experienced love, do you think? Maybe with your sons?
Yes, very much, still do. They're very loving.
But outside of your children?
No. I find that sometimes strangers are even kinder to me. But sometimes not. I had this gentleman that approached me and wanted to have a drink with me as a friend. He gave me a lot of money. And he never tried to touch me that I could tell. And for 7 years we were friends. Sometimes he would stay the night at my house, things like that. When I lost my house, he offered to let me stay with him for a while and stayed with him for a while. Well, guess what? This was just recently, about a year ago, when I bought the RV. I bought it to run away from this guy because he was drugging me the whole time. And he ended up putting, there are a lot of them left. I had some that were life-threatening and surgically removed their needles. Tattoo needles, some of them body-piercing needles, some of them intravenous needle tips, long ones. And there are over 100 shoved deep inside of my muscles, here on my legs, here on my arms, and 1 or 2 in the roof of my mouth here. And she's only taken 1 out. 1 over here next to my neck that they removed because it was poking into my neck. I've been kind of waiting for COVID to be over to be able to go and just get them all taken out, but it's going to take a lot of surgery, and I'll have to be in the hospital for a long time. And but it's very painful. They migrate. A lot of them have migrated. These migrated to the surface.
Yeah, I saw those scars on your shoulder.
Yeah, and these are all from that. Yeah.
The needles under your skin.
They're shoved deep, and the only place that he could get them, because I'm very tiny. So the muscle structure here, he had them buried in there, but they came out, and in here, and they're coming out here. Very, very painful. And here, a lot of them in here. I think it's pretty messed up, the ones in the roof of my mouth. That's pretty cruel. Mm-hmm. I see, when I look over to the side, there's a light that goes on and off in my eye. It's the same, it's like a flash. When I look over a certain way or my head turns a certain way, it's caused the eye to. So it must have hit the eye somehow. I don't know if, I've been kind of a little afraid, to check out where else he put them.
You seem very down to earth and well adjusted for someone who's been through what you've been through.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to ask, but what's the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
I don't know. I guess I'm really scared of people. I am. Deep down inside, I'm terrified of them. And that's why I guess I'm such a loner. And I don't trust anybody anymore. The guy who I woke up at the Roosevelt, the only reason I went with him is because I knew him for 7 years. He was my ex-husband's dealer, dealt him Vicodin pills for about 7 years. And I knew him, and I never thought that he would do something to hurt me. But that really wasn't the case. They were going to kill me that night. When I called that guy a few days later, the phone dropped. He couldn't believe it was me. He couldn't believe I was alive. There's a lot of people in the world, that are so messed up that nobody wants to see that or believe that it's going on out there, but it does. It really does. People that do some pretty messed up things out there to other people. In my heart, I never found that I can't wrap my head around somebody being like that, but it's going on. So I guess, I really learned never to trust anyone. I guess that's why I don't think I've ever loved, because some people will use that and pretend like they love you just to get close enough to hurt you really bad.
All right, Clover, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah. Thanks for
you-
listening.
Yes. I wish you a happy summer in your RV travels
Yeah.
with your cat.
Cujo.
Hmm.
It's a mini Saint Bernard.
It's a cat or a dog?
Your cat.